on time. Oh, well, we are live on Oz Property Investor. We bring the big names and we have the big fun. It surprised me how quickly that show's live every week, but we're going to have a huge session. It's going to be action-packed, so there's going to be right to the end. So stay tuned. We're going to be watching and talking about the differences between men and women in money, which I think is a very maybe it's not that controversial these days, but maybe it is. Who knows? And then we're going to talk through the money frameworks that are going to make you financially free or help you get to financial freedom. Maybe that. And then Reno, stay tuned to the end because Heather is an investor. I hope you're okay with me calling you that. No. So you're a property renovator, flipper, and you do all that good stuff. So it's fun-packed, action-packed. We're going to do it in under an hour 20 this time, I believe. So going to make it happen. Cool. So Joe, Heather, how you going? What's happening?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you. Had a big week and I'm super excited to be with you guys. So I've been watching along for a long time now. So it's fun to be part of it.
I know it is exciting. I must admit getting new guests most weeks now and different guests. And Joe, how are you going, man? Before we get into it, let's crack to.
Hey, I'm very good. We just came back from a boots on the ground adventure in Victoria. So we spent the week in Victoria. Kissing, what is it? Kissing babies, shaking hands, something like that. It's more like kissing agents and shaking hands. I don't know, but it was a very busy. It was, yeah. Well, some of the things agents say. But it's funny because like this is one of the things I think that people don't realize with real estate agents are, and it sounds stupid, but they are just normal everyday people. So I see so many people that try and strong arm real estate agents and are aggressive and they walk in the house and like, you have to, like, this place is trash. I hate what these people just sell you the house. So be friendly with them and treat them with respect and they will treat you with respect as long as you set the expectation around like that you're actually serious, like you're a serious buyer that knows what they're doing. But yeah, a big week. But I'm excited to have you on, Heather. I think that you deal with people at all levels for financially. So people that are just starting out on their in their investing journey, they might have just got their first $50,000 in savings, and then you were just talking to us about a lady who exited a $300 million company, right? And the thing is, along that line is people have challenges, and I bet, as we were saying just before as well. We should just hit record as soon as we get on. But like the problem that the $300 million lady had was the exact same problem that the cake decorating lady had. But I'm interested to unpack. How are you, Jeff? Sorry, mate. I've just kind of jumped right in. How are you?
No, good. I'm excited. Don't worry about me. I'm the person of the hour is Heather. So she's a wealth, pun intended, of knowledge and experience. So, and I saw that so many more people. I was like, how do people like? You've sort of one of the best kept secrets, I imagine. You need to, maybe not you need to, but I'd love to see you out there more. But no, good on you. So before we get into asking the first sort of questions about women and men in finance, I want to introduce, for those, you've been around our Facebook group, you add so much comments and all that sort of stuff, and so many great value comments I see. Just very thought out and thoughtful and respectful as well, of no matter where that person comes from. So good on you. But you're a CPA, a financial educator, money expert, and founder of Money Wise Wealth Co. 20 years though, you've helped businesses and individuals create the wealth. You've been, I'm pretty sure, a CFO. I read a lot of that sort of for some big sort of companies. I think I read the NBL in there somewhere. I read the NBL.
I wasn't a CFO for the NBL, but yes, I've done everything from NBL. Private, government, everything you can possibly imagine. Yeah, global businesses.
Yeah, no. And you quit corporate life 2 years ago. So how fun is that, to full-time property and finance? So you are living out exactly what you're teaching other people to do, which is what we love to see and what we're all about here as well. So first question, I want to know, I want to know, what got you into the excitement around wealth and education? Like, what started you on this journey?
Okay. I don't know. We didn't even touch on this yet. But sure, let's like dive right in and grab Heather from grab my deepest, darkest secrets from me. But I ran away from home at 16.
Yep.
And I was
quick.
Yeah, we did. We got deep quick, but let's just go for it. I was a single mom at 20.
Yep.
That's very tough. With all those years, and I stayed a single mum till my daughter got married at 22. So I was 22 years a single mum. And life was tough, especially in those early years when I ran away from home, and then in those early years of being a single mom. So yeah, super tough. That's how I got
Jesus.
into finance. Yeah.
Well, that's
Had to
like
have a
that's
single.
foundational years, like 16, like I don't know, maybe 14 to 18 are so foundational to who you become. That's crazy. Sorry, Jeff, I cut you off.
No, I was going to say hats out to the single mums and also single parents, but being the child of a single mum from about sort of 4 or 5, and it's just like the sacrifices that single parents, and not to make it about me, but no, it's just hats off. I can appreciate. I don't understand the challenges that people go through, but in terms of that, but it's just it's amazing to sort of see the sort of things that it can shape a lot of people's journeys. Good on you for sharing that.
Well, that's kind of a question that I have on this. Like, how does someone's social upbringing affect their like kind of wealth journey, or you know, and how does it affect men and women differently as well? Like, do you see like the upbringing that you had, that situation, if it was in a man, would it be a different outcome, or I don't know?
Okay. So, yes, social and cultural backgrounds. So your family of origin, significant. And I will show you something later around that. But you have to understand somebody's family of origin, where they grow up, what their frame of reference around money is. Was it scarcity? Were they brought up to be, you must be independent, or you must be loyal, or you must be reliant. There's just the spectrum of understanding people's background is necessary. Like, to be honest, there was years where I'm just like, just fix your finances. Like, life gets so much better when you fix your finances. Like, please, for the love of God, like, just please fix your finances. And then I realized I need to be a bit more understanding. Like, that was my background that came out like fighting that for everybody, just like, you have to do this and make it happen, not understanding that so many people have a different background and that different frame. So once you understand people's frame of money and can talk them through that, or challenge the different perspectives that they have, then you can start to work with, what would wealth building look like for you, because it is different. Even though finance itself doesn't change, the frameworks don't change, the starting point does, the end point, the goals that people have. But for men and women, okay, I'm just going to give you a couple of things I've written down here. So women is different. I've had somebody scream at me saying, how on earth is women's finance any different to men's? How is the wealth building any different? Okay, well, I'll tell you. So for starters, women earn 78 cents in the dollar for equivalent role. Okay,
that's still how current is this? Is this like recent?
Yeah, I think that was February 2025 stat.
Okay,
fairly recent.
Yeah,
25%. Sorry.
I was going to say, why is that still the case? Like, how does that sort of play out? Like, is it due to like career breaks, or like, I mean, why don't you just pay the same money for the same role? I mean, maybe
So we see this across multiple areas. You'll see it like women in the film industry. You'll see it with what we were talking about earlier, venture capital funding, that women will get less roles, they will get lower paid. And the reason is that even though we're aware that it's an issue that we need to fix, there's systemic issues that have still yet to unwind. That there's still people in positions of funding or employing that will still operate differently. So they will ask different questions. They will want to give funding to different causes and the way that they view women. So that even with like venture capital funding, they've done studies that show the questions that women are asked are different to what a male would be asked. And so there's those things that still need to be worked through. But some more of the statistics: 25% lower superannuation at retirement. Some reports up to 40%. I'm not comfortable with that. I think 25% is about what I see. women are less
Yeah,
likely
but
to be
I
able
mean,
to pay their.
that one's a bit of a tough one though, because is that but I mean, that's like from 40 years ago.
Correct. So
Coming
it's a
to
result of a
superwomen.
couple of things. Yeah, that lower wage.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
often women will have time out of the workplace for child rearing, but not only child rearing, caring for family members. So if parents are unwell, if there's child illness, something like that, it usually will fall to the woman. So there is a significant difference in male and female's finances. So whilst the frameworks are the same of how you build wealth, the starting point and that journey will look a little bit different because there are those biases out there, as well as the actual figures are different.
So we've got structural issues internally, externally that you guys that women have to deal with. What about, are there any like consistent internal barriers that you see women struggling with to overcome on their financial journey that differ from men?
So women, and this is, what the research shows. This isn't just my observation, but women tend to approach finances more cautiously and with empathy. So we might let people off. They owe us money. We might let them off easier. We might have a more gentle approach in debt collecting. We may not be as as tolerant of risk as what a male would be when looking to invest.
But having said that, I read there were reports that women actually typically outperform men in terms of their investing, and that's maybe because the less risk-taking behavior. So maybe they're less likely to go and buy that Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT. That it might do 100x or whatever, and then it's now worth peanuts basically. So is that kind of they're less risk tolerant, which means that they actually make maybe more prudent decisions?
So that happens with the venture capital funding.
Yep.
So the evidence is that women will generate 78 cents compared to 31 cents for male-founded startups.
Wow. Geez.
So that's significant.
More than double the performance.
Pardon?
More than double the performance. Like if you're sort of comparing 31.62, it's at 2.2 roughly. There you go. Wow. Yeah. So have you got, because somebody asked, we will get to the money framework, so stay tuned, and some renovation pictures as well. So if I've seen some of your renovation pictures, which are just really fun. Like I saw that you're doing, I think you do some of the renos yourself though, yeah?
A bit of it, yeah. Like if we get a stupid quote for painting or something like that, then we probably do most of that ourselves. The easy things that are there to be done, but we do a bit ourselves. Cleaning, I'll do that.
Oh, okay.
I'm interested. I know we're probably going to jump from this male-female topic pretty quickly, but I'm interested about like the stories that, like, are there common money stories or limiting beliefs that you see? Because you work with a whole heap of women, and we have a whole heap of women in the group, and they're underrepresented. But are there stories that you consistently see that people are telling themselves, why I'm not getting this? Why is this not working for me? What are those kind of stories, and how do we unlock them?
Yeah, so the one thing that I find for most people is that it's more around the mindset. So rather than stay curious and ask how I can achieve something, it's just a quick closed-minded, I'll never be able to do that because, and they've made up their own mind. Like one of the big stories I tell is about a lady who looked at me and she goes, I'll never own a home. I'm like, sure you will. I'll show you. Like I hadn't even known her long. I knew her a few hours and I'm like, sure, I'll show you. 2 years later, like we're celebrating in her lounge room of her new home. When she had
say a few hours later.
No, 2 years later.
Oh, 2 years. I was like,
I'm good, but
yeah, you're good. Yeah, if you just call this person and they'll buy you the property. Yeah. Okay. And okay. So that's a big limiting belief. I can't I shouldn't even be thinking about this and jumping. So that's interesting. So what, they just jump to the close. Hey, it's not how do I do this? It's this is the problem, and I'm not going to even think about attempting to do that. How do we overcome that? How do we unlock that locker?
Yeah, so I think being aware of this, those three, that curiosity is important, but those three mindsets, just going, am I being closed-minded? Do I need more information, or do I need support?
Okay. What are some of the questions, like what are some of the ways that somebody can determine which one the problem is, or how to diagnose? Is it going to a money coach or money expert, or are there resources out there for people to look at? Like, what's the best way?
Yeah, because it's a blind spot. So you do need somebody. And you'll remember, Jeff, one of the things that I posted some time ago was how much I enjoyed this group.
Yeah.
Because just being in a group like this and surrounding yourself with people who are trying to achieve more than what they did in the past does open you up to going, oh, well, maybe if they did it, I can too. Like, I'm hoping that people look at me tonight and go, hang on, if a 16-year-old runaway can get there, I hope I can too.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's interesting you say that, because Level Up, give it a little bit of a plug. So I've got a couple of friends taking a course, and they're sort of doing well financially, but they're going through the material, and they're saying, look, this is actually changing the way that I think about, like, rather than just pay down the PPOR, it's that sort of thing. And another friend of mine, chatting to him today, he said, I don't think I'll ever be financially free. And this is somebody who's done, and I'm going to follow up with that person, just say, look, you're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. Like, just that sort of mindset of, like, I can't do it, or I won't do it. And to your point about the closed-mindedness. So, Joe, do you have any more? We could go so many different directions on that, but I'm just mindful that we should get to the framework.
Can I show you? Can I just do one more about the male and female?
Yeah. I could talk about this all night.
Okay. So when I talked about biases, look at this. This is what we see when we see, men with money in Hollywood.
Who's your favorite James Bond, by the way? Who's your favorite Bond? Are you a Brosnan fan, or Daniel Craig, or are you I mean, this is not relevant, but
me.
Yeah, who's your favorite Bond? I saw Pierce there left. Tough question.
Only because I haven't seen them all.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you honestly, like, to achieve the things I've done, something had to give. I don't watch movies like. My husband's horrified that every movie he says, "Oh, have you seen this?" I'm like, no.
Yeah,
I mean, I used to be a bit like that, but no. So I agree.
Such a great idea.
The way that men
that's such a great little, like, if you're sitting there right now, I mean, obviously you're not. You're listening to this because you're a smart cookie. But if you're like, oh, I've watched every single season of X, and I've watched every single movie on Netflix, and I'm just doing another lap of Amazon Prime, like, well, why aren't you taking the time and spending the time learning and getting educated and watching the YouTube video, or growing and expanding your wealth, or reading those books? That's such a great point. I haven't watched all the James Bond movies because I haven't had the opportunity to, and they're all pretty good. But that's a nice little golden nugget there. Okay, so why are we looking at these devilishly handsome men?
Exactly right. So when it comes to this is something that was pointed out to me, because I don't watch movies, but it was pointed out to me last year. I did a podcast with Molly Benjamin, and she pointed out that this is one of the stereotypes, right? So men are in the movies like, look at how handsome these guys are. They're strong, they're capable, they're risk takers, they're James Bond, like, they're everything, and the Gatsby, like, they're everything that wealthy men should be. But look at what wealthy women are considered, right? So this is about the bias that exists, and that why some of these things haven't changed.
Do not show me Cruella de Vil. Wait, where is it? It's not.
Oh yeah,
there she is.
Oh yeah, there she. Wait,
right, like, so you got The Devil Wears Prada. You've got Sharpay from. I try to grab somebody from all the different ages. This is from the lady from the Heathers. This is the Mean Girls. This is Cruella de Vil. Like that is how women are portrayed. And she was so right when she pointed that out. And I was gobsmacked. I'm like, yes, like that is what happens. And that's why women like are pigeonholed. Like if you're trying to build wealth, often there's a little bit of a, are you one of these? As opposed to, oh, wow, you are strong, you are confident, you're a risk taker. That's amazing. So it's just some of the biases that need to continue to be challenged.
There we go.
I was going to talk about the new movies released. Like, are you starting to see a shift in that? But I guess you don't watch movies, so are we starting to see a shift? I don't know. I don't watch too many movies either. So if there's any movies that you guys can disprove this, I'm sure Netflix is getting pretty woke recently, so maybe there'll be some in there.
And I know they're out there, but this is kind of a stereotype.
What we grew up with, right? Like what I was talking about, those foundational years. This is what everyone was watching, and there was no filter whatsoever. I'm sure it's starting to change and starting to filter out, but it's even in the corporate world, we see that a lot. It's like, oh yeah, he was a bit rude. He's a bit of a dick, but he got the job done. And it's like, no, if a woman's like that, no, she's just a bitch. It's just let's
get rid of her.
Yeah. Sorry.
So money frameworks, because regardless of where we're starting from, where we come from, I'm just keeping on track to make sure we're moving with the flow, because we're all about flow and money. So Heather, I think that was a very worthwhile and interesting conversation, which we could have hours and hours on it. I want to know more about these frameworks to get us financially free, because you've got a wealth and a gold nuggets galore, one would say, as well. So what are some of the things when somebody, if I'm starting off with a couple of grand, what are the sort of scenarios that play out? How should people start to think about these conversations and building towards that generational wealth that you talk about?
Yeah. Okay. So I will start with, let me just go back to this screen.
Yep. You want us to bring it up?
Yes, please. Okay, so this is basically, talking about financial framework. These are the 4 areas that I like to teach people about, right? So there's financial distress, financial safety, financial security, and then there's like empire building, world domination. Mm-hmm. I want everybody to aim for this bottom left quadrant, the financial security. That is where wealth is. That is where financial freedom is. And it's a spectrum, right? So financial freedom is more of a, it's quite dependent on the person themselves, right? Whereas financial security, I can give you very specific measures of what financial security must look like. And so knowing where you are is really important, because if you've got, for example, that $3,000 or even $50,000, that alone isn't the determiner of what you do next. Where you are here determines what you do next. So I'll just take you through to, okay, so this is the 5 steps to build wealth. This is what I teach on. So it has to start with a dream or a vision.
Yep.
You have to know what you want to achieve. And some people are like, well, I just want to have money. Well, that's how you end up with people who say, well, money doesn't bring you happiness, because they get the money and they realize they forfeited the life that they really wanted to live for it, right? So you got to know what you want, what your life looks like. It doesn't have to be just a future vision. It can be right now. Like, well, how do you want your everyday to look? Mm-hmm. And then we build a budget to support that. Your dream day can be every day. It doesn't have to be one event that happens in the future, but we build a budget that supports that. Everybody has to have an emergency fund as you move through the different layers, right? So if you got $3,000, that's your emergency fund to get started, right? Now, an emergency fund needs to be 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses.
Yep.
for financial security, what will end up happening is that figure will look different. You won't call it an emergency fund. Once you work your way through this, it becomes a buffer, and it's based on your entire wealth plan. But this is where you start. You got to get rid of your bad debts. There's just no room. I just don't play in the games of, it's okay because it's interest free for 36 months. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not
right. Having any form of debt that is not income producing hurts you, because you're stealing from tomorrow. You're borrowing from a day that you haven't had yet and that there's no guarantees for. So I call those bad debts. You need to get rid of them. I'm just not negotiable about that. And then number five
I want to ask a question on that, because I noticed the point you said anything that's not income producing, which is very much the Robert Kiyosaki sort of, like if it's not making me money, then it's a bad debt or or not an asset sort of thing. And he talks about that, the PPOR, and I'm sort of on the fence. I don't know either way, but how do you then think about, so the PPR is considered a bad debt, so to speak? I mean, how you kind of...
Yeah. So I wouldn't call that necessarily a bad debt unless it was a bad purchase to start with. And so for some people, they are over leveraging their life. Yeah. And so it might be. So, it depends. Like, I'm going to come out with the accountant's favorite saying, it depends.
And we should also.
So, yeah, like, your own home, like in some circumstances, it makes sense. It's cheaper than renting. It's more secure than renting. But if you go for that dream house before you're ready and it's going to cost you, well, then, it could be a bad debt. Yeah. And you might need to look at.
That's such a great point. I didn't think about it along those lines. We got the disclaimer here to say none of this is financial advice. Heather is an accountant, but we're not giving you any financial advice. Seek your own independent legal and financial advice, because don't trust us or don't be an idiot. Drop it down, Jeff. So I don't. The dream and vision. So what does that actually mean? Like, what does that practically look like? So I'm the type of guy that doesn't have the next 20 years of my life mapped out. There are other people that love to map out the next 20 years of their life. Like, what are some of the things, like, I don't know, what are some of the wins that you see people setting up their dream and their vision and then actually getting to their goal and being happy? Like, I'm sure you see people saying like, oh, I want X. And you fail every time you say something like that. But like, are there winners when it comes to goal setting and dream setting? And are there losers that you see?
Yeah. So with the dream and vision, it really needs to stay in the realm of reality. I talk to people about the difference between fantasy and reality. I don't want to see people get hurt, and so we don't dabble in fantasy at all. If you end up in a situation because you've been in the right rooms, you've made some right moves, that you do end up with the $1 billion payday, that is amazing for you. But to start with that going, I want to be a billionaire. Well, how about you start with, I want to be a multimillionaire or a millionaire, and then a multimillionaire, and then a decamillionaire, and then a centimillionaire, and then a billionaire. Like, let's get this order. And you'll actually see here that I've got order, focus, advice, action. Like, there's an order that you've got to get right. Yep. And if you're trying to skip ahead, if you're trying to, get this, I want a dream home. Okay, yes, that's awesome. Right. So where are we at right now? What kind of life do you want to live between now and then? Because the trajectory for that dream home is maybe that 20 years away, right? Let's say somebody wants a family compound that is going to cost $10 million. Okay, I believe that that's doable, especially in 20 years, no problem. But is it doable now? And do you not want to live your life in the meantime? Which kind of brings me to this one and this one, right? So it's living a life you love, free of money stress, is the big goal.
Yep.
And so if you're going for this $1 billion payday and you just live stressed, you're not living a life that you love between now and then. Well, what if you never make the $1 billion payday? And what if you then trade your whole life for this thing that never happened and that you're never happy with, and because you forgot along the way or nobody checked you along the way to say, hey, like, you know, like what is a realistic day look like to you? Like, how do you want to live your life? Who do you want to be? What do you want to spend your time doing in this one precious life that you have? So yeah, I think it's really important that we do stay in that realm of reality, not hit that fantasy.
The thing is, what are you willing to sacrifice as well? Because if you get to that stage, the top of the mountain can be quite lonely, because if you've got nobody there with you, then if that's what is important to you, then great. But if you kind of sacrifice, if you give it those relationships with friends and family, if that's what is most important, what are you willing to sacrifice? What are your non-negotiables? I think as well. Getting back to number 5, I want to know about this invest bit, because that's what gets me. Maybe I'm jumping ahead. I'm doing the cardinal sin. I'm going, okay, all that stuff. I want to invest. What does that look like? What sort of, when you get to that stage, that's the fun, exciting stuff, I know. But what do you start to talk to people about there?
So Jeff, you hurt my heart when you say that. Because that's what everybody starts with. I want to invest. I'm like, okay, well, are you willing to invest time in getting the foundations right? You know, like, you have to get those foundations right first. Like, are you willing to spend the time on your budget that supports this life you want to live, that's going to show us where the gaps are, that's going to show us what we need to work on? Are we working on the income? Are we working on expenses? Because this invest doesn't happen until you create margin, right? And that margin is traditionally, well, largely it's financial, but it can be time as well. And so you have to go through that. You have to build that foundation and the fundamentals to be able to get to the invest. But when you do get there, it is super exciting, because one, you've done the work, and you know with confidence you've built skills and knowledge along the way. And what it also does is, like, when you know what your dream, what you're targeting, when you know where you are and what you've got to work with, you'll actually figure out that there's only just a very few investment opportunities that will suit you. You know, like, people start with, oh, I want to be an investor, but I don't know where to start. And I'm like, that just tells me you haven't done the work yet, because you would know.
I want to jump to the
comes when the student's ready.
Yeah, that's right. I wanted to know, because we have occasionally this little polarizing discussion about shares versus property, and mostly property wins because we're a property forum. But I imagine the opposite is in share forums, like shares versus property. Oh, it's only shares. But what do you think about things like that, like property versus shares? Is it either or? Or it's not all or nothing? Like, that's what I mean.
Yeah, no. So I'm very much property, which makes sense. That's why I'm here. The reason I'm very much property is we understand it.
Okay.
And I don't think you should invest in things that you don't understand. I love that we can control it.
Yep.
So that we'll get to it later, but that's why I choose to reno flip, is the control piece. I love that control that you have over it. With residential in particular, it's always going to be needed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, there's just so many reasons why property, but at the end of it, like, there's a tangible thing that you get, that you can go and visit, that you can see, that you can knock on a door. You are also in control of, to some extent, depending on how you bought in the first place, but the growth of that. So you can, you know, do a manufactured equity uplift in, you know, reno of some sort. You can, I know you guys like to chop and change, add rooms. You know, that I really think is far superior than the share market, because you only have to get a CEO who says the wrong thing in the back of a cab, and, you know, next day the shares dip, and will they go up again? Well, sometimes they do, but, you know, I've also seen a lot of people lose a lot of money in the share market. The other thing I like about property is that you can leverage your dollar, so your return on your cash. Your return on your cash is a lot higher than what your shares are. But I do have shares. It's part of a balanced portfolio.
Yeah.
It's just that that's not my preference. I put my energy, my knowledge into having property.
Yeah,
Very
and I
diplomatic.
think it scales out as you start to grow and expand as a property as an investor. You're going to say, well, look, I'm way over leverage. I'm way over. Yeah, I've got $3 million of asset here. Maybe I want to start expanding out. But also, you can't be an expert in absolutely everything when you get started out. So I think it is right to just focus in on one lane, get very, very good at that. Then it becomes like, oh, there's $100,000. I'm going to go pick that up and I'm going to go do that deal. What's required of me to do that deal? Well, I'm going to have to spend probably, 30, 40 hours buying it, renovating it, doing the paperwork and flipping it, selling it, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how many hours that you would take to do that type of thing, but I can't imagine it's going to be too much. And you're at that level now that you can just see an opportunity, assess it, put the money in, great, and then go through the process, and it becomes a lot easier. But if you start to, I see this all the time. Actually, I see it with people that try and get educated on different things like crypto and shares and property and subdivision and development and commercial, and then they absolutely know nothing about all of them, but they have a kind of a general idea about some of them, and then they get more excited about the commercial property, so they go down that path, and then they just don't end up pulling the trigger on anything because they're so confused. Just focus in on the one lane, the one that you feel the most comfortable with, become an absolute expert at that, and you will do far better than someone that's spread the love against every other asset, every crypto thing, and otherwise you're just wasting time. Do you see that a lot? Is it like you see people that get to the 1, 2, 3, 4, they get to the invest and they're like, now what the heck do I do? I love all of them. Or
well, no, because it becomes obvious which one will suit because it depends on your starting point, what you have available to work with, your end point, your risk tolerance. It becomes really obvious which one is going to be best for you. I love property because I feel like it's a great leveler. Like my first reno flip, so not my first reno, but first reno flip, I did as a side hustle, and I earned as much in a year doing that one flip as I did working for the whole year.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Sold.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll take two.
You can.
I'm just going to bring this comment up because thankfully Mum taught me about shares when I was a kid. She was a single mum. She told me not to put my money on the bank. In the bank. When I was starting out, it was like buying a few bricks at a time. And Viv went on to said, helped get the deposit, liquidate in a few days. So all about balance, she says as well. And Viv's got a fantastic story. I've chatted to her a little bit. So she may come on the show at some stage, but good on. So there is so many things, so many directions we could take it, there's so much I skipped over. I'm sorry. We could have a whole session purely just on those 5 levels, and maybe we might do some shorter content on that. Because I think is that something people like to learn more about how to uncover each of the stages of the investing? If so, drop a fire emoji in the comments. We love that fire emoji or a rocket, whatever you want to do. But you've got some life. Yeah. How many, which of the slides, because we're already at 40 minutes, so it's gone crazy already.
Okay. So if you just want to pop up just so we can maybe finish this off nicely, pop that up. Yeah. So exactly what you just said, Jeff, yes, there's the 5, but it's what's in the detail of each one of those. Right. And so that is what determines how well you're going to do and how much time you apply to it, energy and effort you put into making those 4 work before you even get to the 5. But you need to understand. So, with the financial frameworks, you really need to understand needs versus wants. Yep. I have people come to me and say, that's one consistent thing I see. I need this. Well, no, you want that. And there's a big, long list of wants in this world, and you're going to have to line them up against each other. Okay, so that's a really important one to understand. Competing and incompatible dreams. Another issue I see a lot. So people will say to me, I'm frustrated that I don't seem to be able to get to my goal. And when we break it down, like they're actually working in like on two opposing things that can't work together.
What's an example of something like that?
Yeah. So one example, I was speaking to somebody recently, is they are ready to renovate and sell their own property, but don't want to uproot their children for the next 3 years. You're not like that's
you
not
can't do
anything
both of
to be
those.
confused about. Like you just like it's a choice. It's one or the other. Like you know, you can't. You're trying to work towards two different ends. Like no wonder you're not going to make it work. That
unless
you're
able to rent the house next door, which yes, you're still uprooting to some extent, but I'm sure there'd be a way to make it happen. But I'm being difficult. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So some of the other like competing and incompatible demands would definitely be when couples are not on the same page. That happens an awful lot. So you've got somebody who is, you know, like just, yes, like let's invest, let's put everything into share market. And then you've got the other one who's going, well, no, hang on a minute. I thought that we were going to start living our life now and we were going to start having holidays. So, you know, that's going to be opposing. Capacity for risk, family of origin, time available, values-based spending to even start with, like when we look at our spending.
What is value-based spending?
Yeah, so understanding. So when you break it down, and so we go through something we call the 7F framework, and that framework is around understanding what is important to you. It's one of the things that helps you determine kind of that dream life or what the vision is for your life in the next, you know, reasonable period of time. And it's what's important to you in these areas, you know, food, fitness, faith, family, friends, fun, and finance is like the last one, right? Because finances just funds all of those other things. But if you're spending money, if we look at your spending and it doesn't align to all these things that you said you highly value, then we can fix that, right? And so that's something that, you know, all of a sudden people who say, oh, I can't stop spending, when they look at going, oh, no, this is what I value most in my life, all of a sudden that I can't stop spending is done. Like they're not interested in spending on those things anymore because they realize that these are the things I value and I want to put my money towards. And then cost versus benefit, that's a big one. I think for me, I think it drives me crazy, but everything runs through my mind on a cost versus benefit. But it's not common for that to happen for people. Would be good.
How do we make that happen more? Like, what does that conversation inside our own heads sound like?
Yeah, that's when you know what your values base is. So you know your value, and then you look at literally the cost. Like, okay, so I know what my values are. Yes, it checks the values-based spending. And now I need to look at a cost versus benefit of having that. And we do that all the time. Like, okay, so I don't know, I want a third monitor for my my setup here. Like that would be amazing, right? But what is the cost of that versus the benefit? And I'm like, oh, you know, $1,000 for a new monitor. Oh, but it's going to make my life so much easier. So it's really just having that as your spending framework rather than just buying, you know, going out there and buying something.
Put on enough.
Yeah, like you've got an iPhone 15 and you're like, do I need the iPhone 29? No, they all do the same thing. It takes photos. Is the camera that much better? No, I don't need to spend the extra $6 million on the new iPhone 24.
Yeah, because the benefit's not there, right? Because it does the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things, so we had a really
4 years.
Every time I go out.
I think I need a new.
Yeah. Oh, I think I need a new one. Yeah, that's all I hear. It's a fine phone. It has got a rubbish camera, and I'm fine with that. Okay, so what are we going to next? Because are we going to your renovation projects, or we got more frameworks? We Which way do
I
you
think
want to take
we
it?
have
I've got it
time
all.
because
What would you
yeah,
like?
we could. Yeah, I reckon we run
Well,
the first sponsor, Joe, because otherwise, yeah, because we're at 40 minutes
Yep.
and we've got a deadline, unfortunately. That
And what are we doing after that?
we're going to go to another framework and then some renos and Q&A. I'm excited.
Are you gonna? Did you say you're gonna do?
Everywhere you look, someone else is making money in property except for you. Your mate, he just bought a house. It's already gone up $100,000. There's some bloke on Facebook, he's bragging about pulling in a 7% rental yield. Meanwhile, you're stuck scrolling real estate and domain, confused as hell and having no idea about where to start. Or maybe you're that mate that's got $100,000 in equity. You have a few properties under your belt, but you feel stuck. You're unsure about how to scale without over-leveraging and not knowing what the next right move is. So why does it feel like everyone else has some kind of secret that you're missing out on? It's because they do. There's a reason some people keep stacking properties while others sit on the sidelines stacking excuses. There's a reason why some investors buy under market value while others pay too much. There's a reason why investors know the hot spots before there's any heat. And there's a reason that some people build $150,000 in passive income while others just spend years thinking about it. And it comes down to knowledge. And that's exactly why Jeff Miles and I, Joe Tucker, created the Level Up Property course to hand you the exact step-by-step process that we've used to buy over $100 million worth of property in today's market. We've built Australia's largest property investment community with over 80,000 members, and we help everyday investors secure hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity, all without wasting years of their life trying to figure it out the hard way. Making an uneducated decision on the biggest purchase in your life is just gambling with your future.
Stop it. Get some help.
And this isn't just another how to buy property course. Let's be clear though, this course isn't free. What? And neither should it be. This is our life's work. We've spent over 100 hours each on this course alone.
Oh, babe. Okay, video number 3. Number 4 with million does... fuck. Done.
We've got decades of experience, millions of dollars in deals distilled into a repeatable process that you can take away for yourself. If you're looking for free advice, there's plenty of noise out there. You can go and find that if you'd like. But if you want real, actionable, step-by-step guided process that works in today's market, then this investment is going to change everything for you. By the time that you finish this course, you will have full confidence. You'll have every tool that you need to build an amazing portfolio if you act on it, right? Which is why we have mentoring built in. So we kick you up the butt to make sure that you're kicking your goals. So the real question is, how much longer are you going to watch everyone else making money in property before you jump in and start playing the property game properly? Because the sooner you start, the sooner you start winning.
We are back. It is a good one, but I think we have to cut some out. But no, so Heather, I want to know. I know you're sort of playing around there in the background with your renovation. It's like, but we do. If you want to share with us one sort of what is the absolute thing that people must know about becoming financially free from your frameworks? Like if you had, or if you could, I'm being hard on you there to pull it to one thing, but maybe 2 or 3, up to you. How many you want to share? Because I want to. You have so much you've prepared, and I just want to give you that opportunity to let us know in 5 or 10 minutes before we start talking renos.
Okay. We get one precious life. One
We do.
precious life. Just
Yep.
one.
Let me
How do you
know.
want to spend it? You know,
do you
Max Lucado has this amazing saying that says, big dream or no dream, it'll cost you your whole life. So how do you want to spend this one precious life?
Yeah.
You know, do you want to spend it always scrimping and saving? Do you want to give it a crack and pursue wealth? Do you want to, you know, when I was in my early 20s, so just as I was figuring all this stuff out, it occurred to me one day, I work damn hard and I'm not getting anywhere. Since I work hard, like I might as well get paid well for what I do. That was a big change for me.
Yep.
Like, hang on a minute. Yeah. So we get
Yeah,
one
it's the
precious
same.
life.
That's such a great point. It's the same as like, I tell you what's hard, not having money. I tell you what, it was also hard working your ass off to make money. Like, choose your hard. Which hard do you want? The one that's, up Struggle Street, on the bus asking for money, or do you want to actually, do something else? But either way, it's going to be hard. There's nothing in this life is too easy. So you just buckle up, get ready for it, and make it happen. But that's such a great point. It's the same as like businesses that I hear all the time. It's like, you're going to be working your butt off to in a business, or which your property business is your business. So why not go for something that's going to give you a 10x return rather than something that's going to give you a 2x return? Like, choose a wave that's actually going strong, rather than just like when we see people choosing property markets that are at the end of their cycle. Let the wave do the work. You just make sure that you're going to the market that's actually moving, rather than the one that's already just whitewashed and already finished out. It's good to pause and think about that. One precious life. What do you want to do?
Yeah. And stay curious. Ask the how can this happen, instead of this will never happen. How can it be?
Oh, that's Heather's. It's not me. The other thing I love to think about, Joe, is why not? Yeah, I love to think about lots of things, but why not do it? Because if you're gonna, if you're gonna sort of go out and sort of live. Sorry, you back, Heather? Yeah, you are. So no, I agree. Like, and that's the same whether you're going to your broker, whether you're going to an agent and sort of putting together a deal with them. It's saying, well, how can we make this deal happen? Like, I can see that the vendor needs a 90-day settlement. I see value in this property at 520. They want 530, 550, 540. If we can get to that stage where we're both can meet somewhere in the middle at I see value 520, I can give them that 90-day settlement. Does that work? Or does that make sense? Or can we get the deal done at that? And if not, then that's okay. But I think at least how can we make it happen, and what do we need to do? Whether that be business, life, whatever you want, your life, your shirt. So. What about? I'm sure you probably got one or two other sort of things before we start talking renos, and then we'll go to Q&A. Now, I think we've double booked you for tonight. That's why it feels like maybe you've prepared so much. So it's not us trying to rush.
I have a lot because there's so much to share, and sometimes like I worry that people will just take one part and take without the context. So but I do feel like we've given everything the relevant context for people to take something valuable away from each of the things that we've spoken about so far. But I know this is boring, but I'm going to say it. You have to have a budget. Okay. Like,
oh yeah, that is boring.
I'm sorry, but it's the thing that will get you what you want. I promise. Like, I promise you, when it's done well, and I a beautiful budget to show you. Like, if your budget doesn't look like this, it's not a budget. But a budget.
Okay. Keen to see that.
Yeah, like, it's not just this. Here's what I'm earning. Here's what I'm spending. Here's what I can save. It doesn't look like that at all. You actually start developing accumulation funds so that you know what you have available to invest. You know how long until you achieve those goals. Your debts, you will understand, like, when is the pay down on those, what is the interest. So you really start understanding every level of your finances. Like, if you're going to go to work and work hard for your money, don't you want to know where it all is going to go and what it's going to lead to? So, and a budget does that for you. So you need.
Well, I also think it gives you the ability to wake up and feel better, because you know what you're working towards and why you're doing it and what you're doing it for. And then you're like, oh, that's right. Because if this number goes from, it's from here to here, that means I've succeeded and I've achieved the goals that I want. Cool. I'm going to wake up happy and feel a little bit more of a pep in my step. Yeah.
You know
that is the saying. I was telling Tegan about that last week, pep in the step. And she's like, no, that's not it. But no, I like to call it a spending plan, because I realized 10 years ago, I was like, I hate that term budget. I mean, I know it is the term, but like spending, it's like, I get to spend that money and go out and buy the groceries. I'm not budgeting to buy those new shoes or the new, but I'm being a bit difficult. I'm sorry.
Well, do you know that this might help you? It's actually a French word, bouger,
Bouger.
and it comes from like meaning like
Bouger.
little bag of money.
Oh, okay. Little bag of money.
Bouger, bouger.
That's cool. We need a meme on that or something. It's
I'm
not a
just
budget, it's a bouger.
Bouger.
Nice. I like that.
Can you show us the spreadsheet? What does that look like? What does a bouger look like?
Ooh,
Sexy
I might
bouger.
have got rid of it. Hang on a tick. Let me have a look. See if I can bring it
Yeah, I
back
saw that
up.
you brought up a crazy
It's too hot,
Google
it's
sheet.
evaporated. Money Smart. Here we go. Somebody sharing. I think Money Smart. There is some good financial education out there. It's probably just not plugged. I mean, we do some good financial education, but yeah.
Not
Here we
from
go.
that.
Oh,
Can you see that?
Money
no. Can we share? We're good to share this one.
Yeah,
So what-
yeah. Share that one.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
God.
Wealth
Jesus.
tracker. Yeah. Well, colors.
Yeah.
I think we need this for the
So this is
ultimate.
what I want to see. Like, I want to see your income. I want to
well.
see your accumulation funds. I want to see your expenses separated out, your bills. I want to see your subscription. I want to see your debts. I want to see all of that separated out. And I want to see that tracking nicely. And then this is what your debts should be looking like. This is how clear it should be to you. You should know exactly the months that you have left until that is paid down. You should know exactly the months until you're debt free. But like you said, Joe, like this, you need to know what you're working towards, because everyone's working hard, really hard. Track it. And this is my favorite one, the accumulation fund. So this is just sample data in here, but this is what it can look like. This is where, we haven't had time to talk about the earn, spend, and invest, how you actually figure that out when we create that margin. But when you create, what happens is with a lot of people is that they just have, here's my income, here's my expenditure, and here's my savings.
Yeah.
Well, that one bucket of savings isn't very helpful. And I find that that's very consistent when people say, I just never seem to be able to, reach my goals. It's because this one bucket of savings, it just seems to get dispersed in all sorts of directions. But when you actually know in detail what you're looking to fund, how long it's going to take, well, yeah. So there we go.
And then there's a lot less guilt.
You stick a new car
well.
in there, and all of a sudden people don't want to put their, or that new car that they're thinking that they might lease or something like that. You put that down to save for. Do a cost versus benefit analysis on that, and you'll choose a different car. So
that's such a good point, because it just sets the expectation of, well, like, cool, you want to go on holiday, you're almost there, but if we don't do X, we're not going to get there, because it's all the same pool, but when you've allocated it out nicely, it works smooth.
Well done.
And you don't feel guilty for spending.
Renos.
Yeah, you
Are
don't
you
feel
ready to
guilty
jump, or
with
did Joe want to
that money.
say why we shouldn't feel guilty?
Well, you shouldn't feel guilty. Well, you don't feel guilty then, right? Because you're
Well,
like
it's your
allocated the
life.
funds.
Yeah, it's your life. You get to choose. It's just about making sure that you are in control of it, and you haven't abandoned your responsibility to yourself to live life on your terms.
Nice. I think that's a nice pivot into
Renovations.
Dirty and maybe not expensive, but yeah, just a good old fashioned roll up the sleeves reno. And we do like a good reno here on the podcast and on the video. So tell us about so how did you sort of realize that the reno flipping was for you? Just to give a bit of context, and then we'll talk to one or two deals, and we have to play Polizzi as well. Of course, we couldn't have a show about Polizzi. I mean, but yeah, how did you get into reno? How did you decide that reno flipping was for you?
Okay, so as I mentioned, I did that. The very first reno flip was a side hustle.
Yep.
And then I did a couple more as a side hustle. And so then when we came to the point of deciding that we wanted to exit the 9-to-5 and make and have our income come from somewhere else, it was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Been very successful with property so far, like, let's do more of that. And we did exactly what you explained before, and went out and went, well, hang on a minute, I only know this one method. This is all I know right now. And so we went on a long search and explored so much training, so many different, everything that's out there. So we are fully across every single property strategy that is out there. And really, again, like when you know what your target is and you know what your starting point is, it becomes obvious what is going to be right for you. And continuing to reno flip is right for us. We did look at doing some subdivisions, just that time. I like to, like I said before, I like to have control, and the reno flipping helps me feel comfort around like what my risk tolerance levels are, in that we can have multiple exit strategies with it. We can control the growth in that property. The multiple exit strategies is probably what was most attractive to me with the reno flipping, because if it doesn't flip, well, there's still other options. You rent it, and somebody asked a really important question about partner funding. And I did want to address that, because again, that came down to our risk tolerance, and we decided not to do partner funding.
Interesting.
Because we don't want the pressure of other people's money. Now, we had the luxury of doing that because of the way that, we had set ourselves up financially before we made this decision. But, and I know that not everybody has that, but in our circumstance, not having partner funding has been just so much better. Now, we had somebody, a friend who was interested in doing some reno flips with us, and they did want to do a JV with us for this project. And we did agree to do that with them. But what we did is we basically de-risked it for them, and we didn't use their funds. We allowed them to come along on the process and show them what it looks like, and that JV. And so that took the pressure off us.
JV was, well, then that's not a JV. It's just, is it a JV?
Well, they still provided the funds. We didn't use them.
Okay.
So we treated the entire process as though there was partner funding.
Yep.
So there's a loan agreement in place. There's we did the fortnightly reporting to them, and so we did it all. And the loan ends tomorrow, and they will get their funds plus the interest back on that, even though we chose not to use it. You might think that that's mad, but we wanted to, because we've been so adamant about not doing it, and then we had somebody that wanted to do it with us. We went, well, let's give this a try, see what it looks like. We don't want the pressure of what happens if this project goes longer. So we made sure it was a project where we still had the cash available to refund. And luckily we did, because this one hasn't sold yet. This one's been a bit slow selling. So there we go. Like, my fear played out, and we probably, we'll be very cautious about partner funding in the future. I've seen too many people lose money.
So did you give them an actual, did they make money out of this?
Paid interest. Yep. That's
just interest. Yeah. So they didn't get any profit share. It was just interest on their funds.
I don't get it.
No.
I don't get why. I don't understand. I
can explain it to you, but maybe.
Okay, explain it.
It makes. So essentially, you have the funds available if you were to need them, but then that way you just didn't need them. So if you don't need the funds,
blew out, nothing mattered, and then it just went for it. Interesting. And it's crazy how one experience like this has obviously been not a great experience from a renovation flip, because it hasn't reached the time period that you wanted it to be, and how it can kind of shape your experience going forward, because there's so many people that have success with these JV things, and then they kill it, and then the next one is up struggle street. But interesting. Okay, so what are the details on? Have we got numbers for this deal or other deals?
Yeah, I have all of the above. They're on 2 different sheets, so I'll show you a couple of the pictures from this one because somebody else made a comment of like you have to buy the crappy building for the Reno flip, and this one was this.
Were
this
those
is
drawers? Is
the
this how you were
worst
given it?
Reno that we've done. Probably not the most difficult, but the worst by way of the condition that it was in when we took control of the property. So as you can see, like just rancid throughout. There wasn't a single salvageable part of it. Even, I'll show you the bathroom. Even the bathroom, we chose to grind it back down to the floor level at an additional cost. Because it was so significant.
Jesus.
You might remember this was the floor that ended up with the asbestos in it. This is that plumbing stack.
I do remember that. I remember that post.
Yeah, do you remember that one? And the plumbing stack that went through this, that goes through here.
Yeah.
So that ended up being an issue that the body corporate needed to fix, but the kitchen had to come out for that to be fixed. So
well, the kitchen had to come out anyway, so that's lucky.
Yeah, that's right.
Kitchen.
That's right. The kitchen has to come out anyway.
Yeah, Mr. Strata, I'm going to save you a drop. Wow, massive difference.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's beautiful.
Couch.
It's actually
that one at the back.
It's absolutely beautiful now.
Wow. Not a couch. Oh, I like how they at least made the bed there. Jesus.
It's amazing that people kind of, if this is a rental property, it's amazing that people are allowed to sort of surely just say, okay, we're going to replace the oven. Like, I don't know. That's just, hopefully that wasn't a rental property for somebody.
No, it was an owner occupier. And the oven didn't work. You can actually see there was a hot plate sitting on top. The oven didn't work. When we went in, the plumbing didn't work. There was, unfortunately, a lot of those things didn't even come up on the building inspection, but we wouldn't have salvaged them anyway. But here's the money shot.
Did someone get burned alive there? Like, why is there footprints?
That's wear and tear, general wear and tear. Having your feet there, Joe.
It's actually grime. It's grime. We could have cleaned it off. We chose not to.
I don't blame. And thanks for sharing this real world example. I'd love to unpack the numbers. I'm just mindful you have another meet. And there are people, if you have questions about any of the parts of tonight, drop those questions because we could probably do a Q&A of 15, 20 minutes easily, which we normally, I've got one in there that's a great sort of question about shares versus property. So drop your questions, people, because I think we'll throw it away.
I'm just going to flip to the other one. Did you want to just bring us back? Also flip to the other one.
Run the ad.
Okay,
Oh, Jeff, I wish there was 3 investing books that covered everything property.
Oh, Joe, there is. Steve has 3 books now.
That I do, guys. I've got 3 books now. You probably don't even have to follow this group anymore. Just kidding. You want to keep seeing and hearing from me, of course, so stay involved. But in all seriousness, if you want to get the full picture of investing, residential, commercial, and development, these 3 books have you covered for the fundamentals. For OzProp members, here's the best part. I'm giving these books to you for free. Just cover the postage and I'll send them right to your door. Go to policyproperty.com or click the link below and get your copies today. You can also get all my spreadsheets, checklists, and resources free on my website. Happy reading, guys.
That's short and sharp. He does a.
One thing that I was a little confused on was why did you essentially give money away to somebody? And it made me realize that that's how I've seen a lot of people be successful. They spend money to learn. They spend money to get educated, and they spend money. If you just if you just did that and said, hey, friend, pretend you're going to give me this money and pretend I'm going to pay you interest and pretend it's not going to be the same feeling. You're pot committed. You've said, no, I'm going to give you an interest rate for your money because I want to nail this experience down for ourselves. And yes, it's going to cost me thousands of dollars to do that, but it's along that way, it's education. That's the key takeaway from that.
You go,
super
Joe.
powerful.
You've got there. Plus, it's just probably the right thing to do as well, because if you've made an agreement, even if that's your decision,
obviously you're paying the
probably
money.
just the
but no,
yes,
but she deliberately set that up to put your money where your mouth is and make it work. Incredible. Yeah, great idea.
And see how the process worked if we do want to do it in the future with a little more risk in the project.
Yeah.
You know, what would it look like? Well, how would it feel? I felt the pressure. I felt the pressure to perform, whereas in
real
prior
pressure,
projects, I'll be like, if it
Get it
takes
done
a
when we
few
get it done.
weeks, it doesn't matter, you know. Whereas this one, I felt pressure, and I felt the pressure to commit to giving that fortnightly report. Even there was this one day, it was supposed to be every Friday fortnight, and the cleaners hadn't turned up, right? So I ended up cleaning some of those walls that you saw myself. Like, they were rancid and I was ruined when I got home. But at 11:45 at night, they received that report. I was committed to the entire process and making sure that we followed through and did the right thing, because that is what is expected. You know, if you have an agreement with somebody,
investor,
you have to follow through on it.
Do your absolute best to make it happen, and better have a bloody good reason for it not to happen if it doesn't. Or
Should
at least
we share your screen?
Oh,
share the screen.
We can see all of Canva. Yeah, we can see that Canva.
Oh, you're seeing Canva? Oh no.
Don't share the screen. Share the other screen. Just unpresent. Oh, hang on, we'll boot it out and then we'll
stop sharing.
Yeah, correct. And
then
go again.
Full screen.
Present. Share screen.
But
no, this has been like. So you go, Joe.
No, I was just going to reiterate what I was just saying there. But I see it all the time where people actually, like, it's silly thinking that you should do this and spend money on these things, and then it's the people that actually succeed. I don't know anyone that hasn't spent a lot of money to learn.
Okay. Tell me about it more. Yeah.
So when we went on that, when we went looking for all of the different property strategies, when I said to my husband, hey, listen, I only know this one property strategy. I think if we're going to make a full-time income out of this and this is going to be our business, the right thing to do is go out there and find out more. So we spent... It depends on which ones you want to include, but let's just say the first one that we did was $12,000 straight up. Now, we didn't even, the course.
Yeah.
We got very little value out of that and disengaged very quickly.
Ooh,
and we ended up going and doing other courses that we've spent somewhere between hundreds on some and thousands on others. And so, you do have to spend the money if you want to learn. There's only so much you can glean from free online or doing it online. Like, I've been doing reno flips and property and interested in it for years, but if you want to do it at a serious level, you do have to go and give yourself that comfort, that confidence. Like, the knowledge will give you the competence, and then the competence gave us the confidence to know which strategy was right for us.
Yeah, nice. I agree. I could tell 3 or 4 stories about that, but I'm just mindful we're coming up close to time for you. These numbers look at a high level pretty good. I'm just sorry. I just didn't want to. I was looking at them trying to make comments.
Do you want to zoom in a little bit, Heather, so we can?
Do a bit on the right hand side. See you got the little options, the zoom, the microglass, the second from the bottom on the right. That's on the Adobe. There you go. That's the one.
Thank you.
Perfect. There we go.
Okay.
So which one are you most proud? So I think you've done 8 or 9 of these, 7 or 8 of these now. How many have you done?
8. These.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's still 2
in progress?
haven't settled yet.
Yep.
This one
Wow.
here
That
also
one-
hasn't
wait.
sold.
Wait, you went from 345,000, 345,000, 485,000, and then there's a 1.2.
That one, I think, needs to be a whole other
Another story.
conversation.
So
Which
that
one? Which one was the one that taught you the most? Let's go through that one. I want to hear the numbers on that one.
It's this one, number 2.
Number 2.
Ooh, okay. Number 2.
Number
What
2.
is this?
First to worst, second to best.
$275,000.
Made some
So,
good
yeah.
money on it, though.
Jesus,
Yeah.
$15,000 of a renovation, and you sold it for $405,000.
Yeah.
What's this? Where was this? When was this? What does it look like?
That
Well,
was
not what does it look like.
2016 in Reedy Creek on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. And the reason why this taught me the most is I have a beautiful real estate agent friend in Sydney. And so when, again, like your network counts, right? So she didn't find this property for me or anything, but she gave me this one nugget that I took to heart and said, Heather, whatever you do, when you start looking for a property, become an area expert. She goes, you need to be going to all the auctions in that area. You need to be driving the streets in that area. And I didn't get it at the time. I just blindly did what she said to do because I trust her. And what I understood then is, well, because then you know a deal when it comes up. And instead of toing and froing like other people might, going, is this a good deal? We still need to do a bit of research. You can actually hit that on the head, like right away. And that's what happened with this property, is that I had already bought this property in that area. And so I kept looking, okay, what else is out there? And when this one came up, it came up just on Domain and not on realestate.com.au. And that was my first indicator, like, I think this is going to be a good property. I went to see it, and because once I saw it, like, I already knew the numbers. I knew the area. I knew what was going to happen. It meant that I was able to just hit this, and I made the offer on the spot, got accepted later that afternoon. I don't even think anybody else had been through the property at that point in time, but I made a full price offer. They were happy with that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So that taught me a huge amount.
Fast. And then there's a question that was popped in here. Have you bought only around your area, or have you done like remote renovations and purchases as well?
Only the Gold Coast. So that is the area I'm familiar with. There's been plenty. Like, I've only needed one at a time.
Yeah.
Or maybe
2,
like there's crossovers, of course, but this is like, my mentality has been like, I'm one person. We only need one, and then we need the next one, and then the next one, and there's one in town. And when there stops being one in town, which I feel like we're coming very close to right now, like I think the Gold Coast has, like you said, that wave it's been done for a little bit, and then we'll just start branching out. I don't feel the need to go regional. I don't feel the need to go interstate where I don't understand the property. Remember back to where I said, like my risk tolerance says that I need to look at the property. I need to touch it. That's how I personally feel. Other people are different, but that's what makes me sleep at night. I want to live a life I love without money stress. Like, I don't want to stress about these things.
I think that's important. Yeah, like, just because somebody else is comfortable doing that, and yes, there are sort of byproducts of that approach, and that's fine. It's just then, you need to sort of understand what your negotiables and non-negotiables are. So I think that's a vital sort of thing to kind of finish up on. I mean, we could ask heaps more questions, but I'm just mindful you're actually going into another presentation. So good on you. But
I am. I've got about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's exciting. So we'll give you time to go and prepare. You only need a minute or two to prepare. But Joe, run us through what I want to say for people who've gotten value for this session. Because we are getting more and more Spotify ratings. So, that helps us get this message about financial freedom and renovation. So it is working. Who said that asking for something you get? So if you need to go and get that raise to go and invest, to get to that stage 5, as Heather has pointed out tonight, but drop us a 5-star on Spotify. Get us out there, people. I'll drop that link in the comments, and give us feedback on other platforms, because it's so. Joe, take us home, mate. But thanks for coming on, Heather. It's been amazing.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. How do people learn more about you and about what you do?
Yeah, so you can contact me on my website, which is www.moneywisewealthco.com, or you can actually just click on my profile when you see me come up on the Oz Property Investors, say g'day, let me know who you are, and see how I can help you. If I can't, I'll point you in the right direction of who can. So I feel like everybody needs that next step. So always happy to help.
Yeah, I love that. I love the connectors in life. Like people that I have that I get along with the most are not get along with the most, but they're people that connect other people to solve people's problems, and they're some of my favorite people. And I don't know if it's not just because of that. Obviously, it's a trend of oh, you like this person likes that person. They have great people hang around with great people. But yeah, no, I learned a lot about this, Heather, and a lot of the things that I learned, like the golden nuggets that I took away from this, are the things that you didn't say, like the unsaid things, like that example of, oh, I've literally deliberately cost myself thousands of dollars and put the pressure on to learn and build that. Like that's what we need to be doing here, as property investors and as people. If we want to learn and grow, you have to be committed. You have to take an uncomfortable step out of where you are. Yeah. But anything you want to leave with the audience, or any other things that you wanted to note, Heather?
Yeah. You get one precious life. How do you want to live it? Make sure you live it on your terms. Figure it out. Fix your finances. Life is so much better when you do. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been good fun. And I know that we could carry on and do so much more. I've got another training that starts at 8 p.m. It's actually called Fix Your Finances. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm in Queensland.
Thanks for coming on, sharing your knowledge and wisdom and lived experience, because I think that's the thing that we love hearing a lot of, and just people who are getting out there and helping others as well. So and doing it themselves with renovating. So good on you. Go and enjoy a cracking webinar and fix people's finances.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
See you later.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Heather. Let's go buy a property.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.